And it was not originally supposed to be the Enterprise. It was called the Lexington. So, he's a Navy man. So basically, he's using Navy names of ships.
Hi, welcome to Coffee and Comics. Now I have my good friend Jon Sideno. We're just gonna geek out tonight, guys. We're gonna be talking about Star Trek.
Yes,
and some sci-fi and some other sci-fi stuff. Ano, John? When did you start by becoming a Star Trek guy?
A Trekkie? Well, okay.
You're not a Trekker, you're a Trekkie.
A Trekkie.
Can you give them the definition?
Okay, a Trekkie is actually simply he's a diehard fan of Star Trek. A Trekker takes it to the next level. He actually lives by the basically what I'll call it, the mantra of Star Trek, IDIC, which is also Vulcan. It means infinite diversities through infinite combinations. Basically, you just roll with it, you go with it.
Ang Trekker yun.
Ang Trekker yun, but in a Star Trek way.
I always thought, pag sinabi mong Trekker, dati when I was younger, it was the next generation.
No, hindi.
I always thought that.
Okay.
Trekkie was the Roddenberry.
No. The next generation is still Roddenberry. The difference is, Star Trek wasn't popular when it first came out. Kasi
in the 60s.
In the 60s, when the first series came out, it wasn't even supposed to get a pilot. They had a pilot, but with a different cast. So,
wala. Kirk wasn't the first captain.
Kirk wasn't the captain. Actually, it was Pike. So it was Pike.
Who's the actor who played Pike?
Jeffrey Hunter.
Yeah.
Okay, so but there are some the only two actors that stayed when Shatner's came out. It was Leonard Nimoy, who was Spock, and Majel Barrett, who was Christine Chapel, Nurse Chapel. At the time when they decided to when Roddenberry really pushed for he needed a producer, so he got a producer through Desilu Productions, which is owned by Lucy. I Love Lucy.
Yeah, that production. Yeah. I Love Lucy. So they got a sitcom producer to do a sci-fi.
They had a sitcom, a popular sitcom, I Love Lucy, and her husband Desi Arnaz. They were the producers.
Pero si Roddenberry talaga yung concept.
His conception kasi,
and he wrote it, diba?
His conception of Star Trek is what he calls the wagon train to the stars. So it's a space western. So basically, it's like the shows back in the day, back in the 60s, late 50s, early 60s. Most of the shows in the US is either a detective story or westerns. So
or war.
He wanted a western, but different from other westerns. So what he did is a western, but it's instead of the Wild West, it was in space. And it was not originally supposed to be the Enterprise. It was called the Lexington. So he's a Navy man. So basically, he's using Navy names of ships. So that's how we started. And the original series ran for 3 seasons. No, 3 seasons.
In now's style of TV making now, mabilis lang ng 3 seasons. Pero dati mahaba na yan eh, diba?
Back in the day naman, at least 20 episodes pa naman siya. The only thing kasi is the networks are not ready for something this this level of
Yeah, it was too and sci-fi was pambata talaga.
Yes,
it wasn't really made for adults.
Kasi Star Trek was medyo PG-13 na yan, bordering on R.
Because nagka-first interracial.
They have the first interracial kiss.
We'll talk about that later.
Then one of the episodes, in the menagerie, you had the Orion slave girl. Yep. So you have those green dancers. Green painted,
scantily
clad, painted green.
I remember.
And did you know that one of those dancers is actually Yvonne Craig?
Are you serious? Oh yes, Batgirl from the 60s.
From the 60s, Batman. Yvonne Craig. It was one of Yvonne Craig's starting roles.
Wow! Halos extra
lang siya. Extra lang siya doon. So after 3 seasons, the network feels that we're not ready for something like this. So they want to back to regular programming.
Yeah.
So what was the next step? Syndication. Here's the thing. If you're on the network, the network will put you on a certain time slot. And depending kung gaano kakalakas yung mo, they'll put you normally they'll put you in like they'll put you on a weekday night. So school night, syempre the kids can't watch kasi they have school the next day. Or if they put you in the weekend, they'll put you on Saturday, which normally walang tao nanonood because
kasi sa labas lahat.
Everybody's out.
So Sunday, pangit na
Yes, Sunday naman normally it's where the families are bonding together.
Wala rin
manonood. So that's what happened. So ang next step
was a flop, di ba? The first Star Trek.
Until there is there's at the time there was a cult following. So
these were the old sci-fi guys na Flash Gordon?
No. The cult following is these are all people who are fans of Star Trek.
Oh yeah, pero how did the following come to be? Because these are the more older people, not kids, di ba?
No, they're
were there kids?
There were kids. There were working professionals. There were retirees.
Some of them were old.
Pero you mean this is the 60s? No social media, no internet. Yeah. What did? They did a letter chain. So everybody was typing letters and sending it to the network that please bring back Star Trek. And actually the network was planning na they can use something like whatever popularity in Star Trek, and that's why they created Star Trek the animated series,
which is done by Filmation.
The
studio was the guys who make He-Man did that. Did Star Trek.
And that's the only Star Trek show that won a daytime Emmy.
Oh, did it?
They did.
Pero they were the same voice, diba? The actors were the same voice.
The only voices that did not come back was George Takei.
Talaga?
Yeah, and Walter Koenig. George Takei kasi at the time.
Bakit?
Yes, my.
Bakit?
No, one kasi George Takei at the time was doing Green Berets with John Wayne.
Yes, and ang dami niyang war movies.
He had a lot of war movies, but at the time he as much as he wanted to, he can't because if you're doing a movie for John Wayne, there's no excuse for you not to do it. I mean, this is John freaking Wayne we're talking about back in the 60s.
The ultimate cowboy. So yeah.
And two, he does have a very bad working relationship with Shatner.
Talaga nag-away sila?
Not exactly. Shatner kasi has this habit of hamming up his role that all the focus are on him.
Terror daw si Shatner.
He was
terror daw siya on set.
No, not really. No, a lot of people. He's not a terror. He's somewhat difficult to work with. But if he can go around his intricacies, he's actually not a bad guy. In fact, he's the reason why he was able to when he found out that most of his cast members is getting like 1/4 of what they're paying him. He put his foot down like it's either everybody gets an equal share or we don't do it at all.
Ang bait naman.
Yeah, he does. Come on, the crew of the Enterprise is not Captain Kirk. It's the entire crew. There's Spock, there's Bones McCoy, there's Uhura, there's Scotty. All these people, everybody is basically the family.
Let's talk about Uhura, the first interracial kiss. How did that happen? Nasa script ba yan? O did someone say na, let's try this out? Or did Shatner try to actually interject that?
At that time, the studios have having difficulties with Roddenberry. Kasi Roddenberry tends to write most of the stories. The problem with Roddenberry, they're already shooting and he's still typing the next scene.
So biglaan yung mga
so basically they tape as they go.
Oh my god.
So you have one guy sitting in front of his desk like waiting, it's like you get okay, this is the next scene. Lalabas na siya, they say wait, there are changes. So balik na naman siya.
Grabe, no?
So what the studio did is like, Jane, how about we put you at the position of executive producer?
Get writers.
And we're gonna get writers. At first, ayaw niya. Kasi parang
baby niya yun.
Yeah, baby niya yun eh. But can imagine how you're going to go if these writers do the stories for Star Trek.
That's right.
He got David Gerrold. He got
Twilight Zone guy.
Yeah, David
Rod
Gerrold.
Serling was one of the writers.
One of the writers. Who else pa? J.M. Dillery, he was another popular At the time, most of them are sci-fi writers are just starting at the time. So, if you look at most of the writers now, for your resume, 100% you're gonna see they either wrote for Star Trek in novelizations, a script, they wrote for Star Trek. Kasi Star Trek is basically like if pag pumasa ka sa Star Trek, you're pretty a good writer.
You're a good writer. Para sa akin, Star Trek is like Twilight Zone in space. Ang gaganda ng kwento. There's a lot of twists and turns. And then a lot of them are not for kids. They were very adult. Even the first episodes, even the first season was very adult. Some of the episodes were
it's very adult. And Star Trek is one of the first sci-fi series who had the two-parters. Two parters. So to be continued next week. So ganun kahaba storyline niya.
Yeah.
Normally everything will finish within the at that time. I think it was like 45 minutes plus yung mga commercials.
Right.
It goes 45 like 2 episodes.
Right. And anyways, guys, we have a lot of Star Trek merchandise here. A lot of them is from John. So if you want to get some or even just check it out, just come by in Coffee and Comics. I have a graphic right here. You can come by, grab your favorite phaser, and drink some coffee.
Or just beam down.
Or get a beam down here. Okay, thanks everybody. Thank you, John, for talking about geeking out with me. Bye, everybody.